All right, welcome back, Social 10. So today's topic is nationalism. Nationalism will be the topic for all of Social 20. So this, our final lesson in Social 10, is a bridge to Social 20. When Social 10 was initially created back in 2006, we thought globalization would be an inevitable force, an irresistible force, a force that had no controversy attached to it, that many questioned, how is this a difficult concept? But now, in 2022, we can see that there's forces of deglobalization. So that's what we're looking at here today. We're continuing what we've already began with deglobalization. So far in this topic of deglobalization, we've looked at it economically. We know that economically, some look at globalization and they don't approve. Economically, globalization means global capitalism. And with capitalism, there's inequality, there's exploitation, and because there's inequality and exploitation, those who see themselves as have-nots, they may actually want an alternative global economic system. So economically, we have an argument against capitalism. We also have an argument against capitalism economically, and therefore globalization economically, because of the ecological footprint. The ecological externality of global economics has created an anti-global movement. The ecological externality of global economics has created an anti-global movement, meaning that there's a cost to our global economy. It's measured in our carbon emissions that has now been able to be quantified in climate change. So 15 years into this new curriculum, the concept of globalization is becoming more difficult because we're seeing more people committed to deglobalizing, because they see that the idea of globalization isn't inevitable, it isn't irreversible, and it may not be a system that works for everyone. We also see it socially. This course began by looking at ideas like homogenization. And at one point, we might have assumed that globalization was going to create a global community with common values and common norms. And we're seeing more and more resistance to that people don't want to become clones of the West, that they don't want to become Americanized and homogenized, that we have rigid defense of traditional values and norms in pockets around the world. So we do see deglobalization and anti-globalization. We see IMF and World Bank and the WTO being targeted. But what we're also seeing is a resurgence of nationalism. We're even seeing that in America. As a product of our global population of nearly 8 billion, we're seeing places like America that has their own almost 400 million people saying, we can't absorb any more people. So in America, there's a re-emergence of the us versus them idea. That this is for us, and them, they need to stay out because we don't have room for them. So we have this idea of re-emergence of nationalism. Economically, nationalism, we've seen the ideas with COVID-19 led to supply shortages. People want to buy a new car, but they can't because we get our chips from Taiwan, our computer chips from Taiwan. A lot of people say we need to stop offshoring, we need to go back and we need to onshore, we need to nearshore, we need to reshore. We need to have that economic base at home again. So this idea of nationalism has a cultural aspect, has an economic aspect, has a social aspect. Politically, we're seeing areas trying to insulate themselves from authoritarianism being spread from other areas around the world. So what was once seen as inevitable, irreplaceable, irreversible, undisputable, globalization is now being questioned, and maybe it isn't the future. So that's my introduction into a video. We're going to watch a TED Talk on the overlap between nationalism and globalization. We'll watch the video today. We'll talk about it tomorrow.